Okay, so welcome to part two of the creative testing process within Meta, where I share like my methods and kind of like tips and tricks on creative testing. So last video we talked about ABOs, CBOs, and ASC, in which I used to scale the campaign. We talked about the differences between ABOs and CBOs and how a CBO campaign usually the CPC there goes down and it needs a little bit more time, and it doesn't work with other CBOs as well. A bunch of stuff. If you haven't watched it, make sure that you do. And in this video, I want to talk about a few things. So the first question sometimes people ask me is, what do you do when you get like new creatives? So let's say you have an ABO or CBO campaign and it works good, you have good CPA, but you want to do another round of testing. Do you get a new campaign up, or do you get the new creatives inside? So this is a very dynamic question because sometimes that works and sometimes that doesn't. It depends on how much you want to play safe. So usually when you have something that wins, my advice is do not touch it. We've all been to a situation where we had a campaign that prints money, we do a subtle change, and it completely destroys the whole thing. So you want to make sure that you are very, very chill with making aggressive changes. On Facebook side, basically they're saying that if you go and get a new ad inside the campaign, it's not gonna destroy the learning mode. It's gonna use whatever the campaign has already accumulated in terms of data, and it is going to serve that ad, as a part of, basically. My experience has been different. I have had campaigns that were already active, which means they are out of learning mode, they are stable, the campaign is being fed the amount of conversions that it needs. But even though that was the case, my experience has been that the campaign went back to learning mode. So you want to be extremely, extremely gentle when it comes to it, especially if your creative testing structure is just like the one that I said initially. Like my default on go-to would be an ABO that has multiple ad sets and an ad inside each ad set with its own budget, so you can actually measure and see how it does. And if you want to add basically another ad, you would have to duplicate one of the ad sets or create a new ad set inside that campaign. That usually disrupts the system, even though nothing really happens in that type of campaign because it's an ABO. Everything happens inside the ABO. So essentially all of the ad sets are kind of like a whole campaign, an ecosystem of its own. So my experience and my advice would have a few accounts basically. An account that is just for scaling, an account that is just for testing, and that's kind of like a very narrow structure, but that allows you to open up multiple campaigns and multiple creative testing done. And then if you want even like different pages and stuff like that, if you really want to separate it, it all depends on the amount of like money and creative that you have to test at the end of the day. But considering the fact that you are spending above 5 figures a day and you have a large variety of creatives, you want to make sure that you have a decent amount of, ability basically to not only test more creatives, but also to keep whatever you have uh, done up till now, basically. So going back to what I said in the first video, when you duplicate another CBO, at the end of the day, there are only so much creatives or so much CBO campaigns that you can get inside one account without disrupting the other stuff. I don't know if you guys have done it once, but you've had one campaign that's doing very well, a CBO campaign. You duplicated it, and the second day, it never goes back, So you want to be very extremely gentle. I know that I didn't give in this video a straight up answer, but that's kind of like a more advanced, not simplified answer into creative testing. What I have found that kind of like limits the stuff that we're doing in terms of creative testing is making sure that one, it's not inside the same page, it's not inside the same ad account, which has been the biggest thing, and two, that you don't upload the same type of creatives or publish the same types of creatives inside the same account because and page, because then the algorithm recognizes something that's overlapping, and then it creates a block in terms of how it's going to serve these creatives and stuff like that. So that has been part two. In the next video, I'm going to go into like some tactics and stuff that I use within the creative testing when things are working and when things aren't working. So make sure that you watch it.